Part 55. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 541. In the courtyard. Xiao Xian was envious, and finally got rid of the jealous thoughts in his heart, and calmly began to prepare to break through the realm of his soul. He knew that if he wanted to get out of this courtyard, the first step is to raise his soul realm to the middle realm of Taixu, so that he can be sure to break the restrictions in the courtyard. Moreover, he also wanted to shorten the promotion time as much as possible. Find a room in the courtyard. Xiao Xian sat down cross-legged, and with the movement of his body's skills, the power of the great avenue around him gradually gathered towards him. After entering the spiritual realm. As for the power of the great avenue, cultivators no longer need to gather it themselves, but can instead mobilize the power in the surrounding environment. Therefore, as long as one enters the spiritual realm, cultivation requirements for the surrounding environment will increase. The more powerful the power of the great avenue is, the higher the efficiency of cultivation will be. On the contrary, if the power of the great avenue of heaven and earth is poor, the efficiency of cultivation will also be reduced. After running for a while, Xiao Xian felt that the cultivation environment in the Kanglong Empire was not as good as Gongsun Hei's secret realm, but overall it was pretty good. At least for a moment, he also felt that the power of the great Dao in the Qi Si was much stronger. After nourishing the body, Xiao Xian finally took out the core item of this training, the demon blood melting pill. Brother system. How should I use this thing? Looking at this round heavenly demon blood melting pill, Xiao Xian did not dare to neglect it. After all, this was the pill that Gongsun and Ya both valued back then. Perhaps, this thing will not benefit Gongsun Hei. But it is undeniable that this thing must be very useful to Xiao Xian now, and it is even the key item for him to escape from trouble now. There is a wisp of the ancient demon soul in the heavenly demon blood melting pill. It is very powerful. If you are not careful, your soul will be devoured by the heavenly demon. The voice of the system was not relaxed. What? What is a demon? Xiao Xian was stunned. The heavenly demons are a race on the heavenly demons continent. To be precise, they can be said to be the heavenly demons. The heavenly demons control 6/10 of the resources in this world, and other tribes control 4/10. It can be said that the demon clan is the #1 race in the world. After hearing this, Xiao Xian couldn't help being stunned. He couldn't believe his ears. This was the first time he heard about the race of Tianmo after coming to Dao continent, and it was such shocking news. Then you mean that 60% of the Dao continent is in the hands of the demon clan? Xiao Xian was shocked. You can rest assured about this. There are no demons on the main road. The system seemed to feel a little troublesome for the first time, and said, this is not the mercy of the demon clan, it's just that the Dao continent is too weak. Weak? Too weak? Xiao Xian was all shocked. Even though he was once the most powerful person on the continent, he couldn't help but be shocked when he heard this. He couldn't believe his ears. After such a long time, he has become somewhat familiar with the situation on the Dao continent. He felt that on Dao continent, his strength could not be fully exerted. This was not only because of the suppression of Dao continent's rules, but also because his own strength was a bit weak. That's all. The demon clan is not something you can come into contact with now. What you have to do now is to understand the power of the soul from this demon blood melting pill. This will be enough to elevate your soul realm to the Taixu middle realm. The system said, now this system will give you a magic soul observation method. This method is called, soul searching technique of heaven and earth. Xiao Xian couldn't help being stunned again. Originally, he thought that this time he would need to absorb the heavenly demon snow melting pill and obtain its energy before he could further develop his soul power. Who knows, according to the system, he only needs to get the power of the soul above. Is this heavenly demon blood melting pill so overbearing? At the same time, he couldn't help but shudder. Fortunately, before using this thing, he found the system and asked. If he swallowed it recklessly, his life would be decided here today. Ding dong. System reward, soul-searching technique of heaven and earth. At this moment, a system prompt sounded in Xiao Xian's mind. An ancient and mysterious soul-refining method was instilled into his mind. At the same time, his soul suddenly felt nourished, and it seemed that he began to practice slowly. This heaven and earth soul-searching technique is a special gift from this system. It is taken from the heaven and earth, and you can cultivate your soul independently. The system said proudly. Xiao Xian was immediately happy. He didn't pay much attention to the previous words, but he heard the last words clearly. You can cultivate your soul independently? Isn't this girl's feeling a little too good? Does this mean that every day, he doesn't have to do anything, and his soul power can become stronger on his own? This is such an amazing thing. It can be said that this soul-searching technique is completely like cheating. Brother system, you said you are the same. Why didn't you come up with such a good thing earlier? If I had this thing a long time ago, why would I be like this? Xiao Xian couldn't help but sigh. As a practitioner, you cannot rely on external objects after all. I hope the host will take care of it. There seemed to be some emotion in the system's voice. Yes, but, I wonder if the system brother has a way to automatically cultivate Taoist power? Give it to me now, and it will save a lot of trouble. Xiao Xian asked tentatively. Puh. This system reminds, the system itself is a supporting role in the host's cultivation, not a decisive role. If the host is greedy, this system has the right to disappear at any time. The system said harshly. After hearing this, Xiao Xian also looked a little embarrassed. In fact, because of his achievements in Tianxian continent and primordial continent, he took it for granted that the current system would not be of much help to him. He even thought about getting rid of the system completely. Who knew that in the end he would underestimate the system? This system is simply a treasure. Now it has casually given him a heaven and earth soul-searching technique that automatically cultivates the soul. More importantly, looking at the current appearance of the system, it seems that there are more and better things. It's just that I haven't given it to him yet. If he can get all the good things from the system in the future, who else on this great continent can stop him? Thinking of this, Xiao Xian couldn't help but feel a little more passionate about the system. Ahem. This system prompts, the donor should seize the time to absorb the soul energy in the demonic blood melting pill and increase the power of his soul to the middle level of Taixu. Only in this way can he improve his strength and leave here. This system has discovered that there are forces in the Kanglong Empire that are detrimental to the host. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 542. Originally, Xiao Xian was still complacent. However, when he heard the words behind the system, he couldn't help but look solemn. He also understood that the system did not mean to scare him by what he said. Mo Hong was not the only one in the Kanglong Empire who was dissatisfied with him. Zhao Wuji, Wei Qinglan, and the cunning Wang Ao. After thinking about these things, Xiao Xian also put away his expression just now, nodded seriously, and said, "Don't worry, don't say that now I have the method of demon blood melting pill, even if I don't, I, Xiao Xian, will never do anything. The role of human slaughter." After saying that, he reactivated the power of the soul in his head. After the power of the soul in the Taixu initial state is revealed to you, it gradually spreads forward, directly wrapping the heavenly demon blood melting pill in it. A trace of milky white soul power separated from Xiao Xian's mind. Cautiously, they gathered towards the heavenly demon's blood melting pill, testing the power of the soul that melted the heavenly demon's blood melting pill. But before he even got close, This trace of divine soul power was directly melted by the red pill, and at the same time, a tingling feeling was released in Xiaoxian divine mansion. Seeing the power of his soul disappear, Xiaoxian also frowned. Even though he knew that this heavenly demon blood melting pill was difficult to deal with, he really didn't expect that this thing would be so difficult. This pill can actually swallow the power of his soul? However, the disappearance of the power of the soul did not stop his confidence. On the contrary, he became more stubborn and dissatisfied in his heart. Thinking back then, Xiaoxian was considered the supreme being on the continent. Spiritual power and soul are both extremely top-notch existences. How could it be possible to succumb to a small demon-melting blood pill? Soon, another mellower divine soul power condensed and attacked the demon blood-melting pill again. Boom! Inside the demonic blood-melting pill, there was a slight collision as the two strong divine soul powers collided. The milky white and crimson soul power turned into two giant dragons, fighting inside the elixir. The difference was that the crimson soul power had no guidance, just instinctive resistance. And under the guidance of Xiaoxian's soul, the power of the milky white soul turns into a majestic white dragon, constantly attacking the opponent. Every time it opens its mouth, the opponent loses a piece of soul energy, and at the same time, the opponent's strength is weakened. Xiaoxian was delighted. He saw that if he wanted to refine this red soul power, he must first defeat it. The white dragon becomes more and more brave as it fights. Within the entire elixir, it seemed that he was the only true dragon master. At the same time, the red soul power also became weaker after being attacked again and again. It seemed that it was time to launch a general attack. At this moment, Xiaoxian's head was covered with beads of sweat. The fatigue of his soul made him look a little pale. But he understood that the moment was more critical. If he was not careful enough to recover the red dragon in the demonic blood-melting pill, all his previous efforts would be wasted. Attack! Xiaoxian gritted his teeth. He forcibly gathered all the divine soul power in the divine palace and directly attacked the last remaining red divine soul power in the elixir. The red dragon seemed to realize that if it didn't resist, it would completely disappear from the world, so it gathered all its strength to collide with the white dragon. However, the host does not need to worry. System, you damn didn't tell me earlier. He swore that if the system stood in front of him at this moment, he would definitely kick it in the butt and let him know the consequences of pretending. This is because there is a drop of the blood of the heavenly demon clan in the heavenly demon blood melting pill, and the red dragon can continuously absorb the power of the soul. The system said slowly, at that time, you chose to attack the red dragon. The dragon is a mistake. Thinking of this, he no longer felt sorry for himself. Along with the movement of the soul-searching technique of heaven and earth. That is to say, Xiaoxian's own soul power was not weak, so he did not let the white dragon completely dissipate and barely maintain the dragon form. The system was completely unaware and still said slowly, did the host forget that the system also gave you a heaven and earth soul search technique? Even if the demon blood melting pill can continuously give it strength, this red dragon is not invincible. Even so, the white dragon may not be able to fight in the future. Clearly hit hard. Under the impact of the strong force, Xiaoxian's soul felt a stinging pain, and bloodshot eyes suddenly appeared. It was obvious that he was reaching his limit. The red dragon, which was extremely weak and was about to be swallowed up by the white dragon, increased in strength several times in an instant. If the red giant dragon can continuously absorb power, then how can he subdue a woolly figure? Xiaoxian was surprised to find that streams of pure soul energy rushed out from the demon blood melting pill and directly replenished his white dragon. Even the space inside the demonic blood melting pill seemed to be about to explode. What? After a long time of fussing, he had spent so much effort to beat the crimson dragon to half a disability, but it turned out to be useless. Xiaoxian himself was also shocked by this. Before, he clearly felt that the power of the soul in the demonic blood-melting pill was already weak to the extreme. How could it become stronger in an instant? In desperation, Xiao Xian also quickly asked the system for help. Based on his previous experience, he knew that the product produced by the system must be high quality. Since the system gave him the soul-searching technique of heaven and earth, it must be very valuable. This red giant dragon was beaten to a pulp before. Why did it suddenly become so powerful? In this way, Xiao Xian's previous advantage was instantly gone. Xiao Xian was still angry. System, what's going on? Hearing the system's words, his face became a little more serious. This. After closing his eyes, ignoring the severe pain caused by the damage to his soul, he forcibly operated the heaven and earth soul-searching technique. Xiao Xian was so angry that he vomited blood. At this moment, something unexpected happened. The white giant dragon was already at the end of its strength. After the power of the demonic blood-melting pill increased, the situation was reversed instantly. A burst of crimson energy hit, and the white dragon barely resisted for a while before being blasted away. The two collide. This heaven and earth soul-searching technique is so magical. Boom, boom. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 543. Xiao Xian was happy in his heart. He understands that the more magical this heaven and earth soul-searching technique is, the more trump cards he will have in the future. Maybe one day, this heaven and earth soul-searching technique will be his life-saving straw. The soul energy is absorbed. Hurry up and strengthen your soul power. If possible, swallow as many of that red dragon as possible. The system sound sounded again, and the sound was a little more urgent. Xiao Xian did not dare to neglect the system's urging, and quickly used his soul-searching technique to start absorbing the energy from the red dragon. When absorbing the energy of the red dragon, be sure not to act too hastily. The system continued to warn, after all, there is blood from the demon clan in it, so you must be careful when dealing with it. From the sound of the system, Xiao Xian could feel the system's strong sense of caution. This also made him frown slightly. For such a long time, he followed the system all over the world and met countless powerful people. It seemed that this was the first time that he saw the system talking to him so solemnly. Just a drop of blood from the demon clan. Can the system be so afraid? Xiao Xian also became more solemn. He didn't know much about the system's capabilities, but what was certain was that the system had saved his life countless times in critical moments. Just rely on this kindness. Xiao Xian must find a way to repay. Don't worry, brother system, I will find a way to deal with it. Xiao Xian once again gathered the power of his soul and surrounded the red dragon. Boom. With the blessing of heaven and earth soul-searching technique. Now, the power of the soul in Xiao Xian's body has become countless times stronger. On the contrary, the previous red dragon's strength has been greatly weakened because there is no energy supplement in the elixir. Under the circumstances, Xiao Xian naturally had the advantage in the battle. The white dragon was blessed with energy, opened its big mouth, roared, and absorbed all the energy from the red dragon. In the demon blood melting pill, the pure soul energy gradually separated and was slowly instilled into the body of the white dragon. At the same time, Xiao Xian also felt that the energy of his soul was slowly growing. To his surprise, the barrier of Taixu beginning realm that he tried to break through before was also slowly getting thinner and was about to be broken through. Taixu middle realm, break it for me. Xiao Xian roared angrily. The soul-searching technique in the divine mansion has reached its peak. Within the elixir, the pure energy was sucked out forcefully like a moth flying into a flame. The overflowing energy was like a surge of energy, finally breaking through this barrier. At this moment, in a place that Xiao Xian couldn't see, in a cold and lifeless area, a beautiful spirit saw the way he had just broken through the realm of the soul, and the corners of her mouth raised slightly. This kid may actually have some talent. After a huge amount of divine soul energy was injected into the divine palace, Xiao Xian's originally tired soul gradually recovered. At the same time, he could feel that in just that short moment, the energy of his soul had been strengthened many times. Now, his soul is already at the intermediate level of Taixu. Opening his eyes again, Xiao Xian looked around. He felt that his perception of the surrounding environment had been greatly improved. Every move of the people around him can be under his surveillance. At this time, Xiao Xian tried to direct the power of his soul to the restriction in the courtyard, trying to break it. When I just came to this courtyard. He also tried this method, but the final result was not very good. Even if he inspired all the power of his soul, he could not do anything about the complicated restrictions. If he reluctantly enters the forbidden area, even his soul power may be injured. But now, the situation is very different. When his soul strength in Taixu middle realm was displayed, he could clearly see the restricted nodes in the courtyard in front of him. This restriction doesn't seem to be that sophisticated. After looking at the incense for a while, Xiao Xian sneered. At this moment, Longfei Longwu, who was protecting the law beside him, looked at each other in disbelief, looking at Xiao Xian in disbelief. They have never practiced the power of the soul. Xiao Xian's powerful spiritual power unfolded, split into 4 channels in an instant, and broke through the 4 jade slabs respectively. The precise Dao patterns shine brightly. By that time, although these jade plates are separated, there are roughly the same Dao patterns inside. In the final analysis, these restrictions are just Dao patterns carved on jade boards. Mo Hong placed 4 jade boards throughout the courtyard to suppress the cultivators in the courtyard. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed that young Master Xiao Xian's soul power is so strong. A gloomy voice suddenly came from the door of the courtyard. What an amazing skill! Thank you for protecting me. As long as there is enough time, I am confident that these restrictions will be completely broken, Xiao Xian said to Longfei Longwu. Longfei muttered to himself and couldn't help but say, such a divine talent is unmatched by no one in Zhulo City, not even in the entire Hidden Empire. But it's nothing at all. Soul talent? Senior brother, are you talking about the power of the soul that the master said can be used to refine elixirs and make patterns? Longwu looked surprised. It seems that the power of the soul has become stronger. Just when Longfei Longwu was having a conversation. Good. Xiao Xian has already used the power of his soul to break the restrictions in the courtyard. These restrictions will naturally be lifted. Therefore, they can be linked to each other. Once one jade plate is attacked, it will trigger the support of other jade plates, making it very difficult to solve. Looking at young Master Xiao Xian's appearance, the power of the divine soul has reached the initial stage of Taixu. This is a level that can only be achieved by masters of the Blue God realm. Wei Qinglan? What are you going to do? But according to what the master said, there should be no cultivator in the spiritual realm who can condense a soul. Mo Hong obviously didn't want to see them leave safely. He even took out Wanbao Pavilion's treasures. Was his purpose just to find an excuse to get rid of them? But now, what Xiao Xian needs is time. But at this moment, after seeing what happened to Xiao Xian, I really felt that there was something unusual about him. Longfei shook his head and sighed, who knew that young Master Xiao Xian would be so talented? It seems we are saved today. After all, judging from the previous situation. It's amazing. Wei Qinglan, wearing a suit of armor, walked in coldly, with a livid face and a strong sinister aura about him. However, these things are not suitable for Xiao Xian at this moment. Okay. The power of Xiao Xian's soul attached to it and began to use pure energy to destroy these lines. As long as these lines are erased with energy, the jade plate will lose its effect. Don't worry, Mr. Xiao, we will definitely be able to hold him back. Now that the opponent has shown his cards, the two of them will naturally not give up resistance. Longfei Longwu quickly stopped at the entrance of the courtyard. Longfei and Longwu looked at each other, and they also understood that now the hope of getting out of the courtyard could only be pinned on Xiaoxian. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 544. I wonder if Commander Wei is here to give you any advice. Longfei understood roughly in his heart. At this time point, Wei Qinglan's arrival was probably not good, but she still asked with a gloomy face. Longfei, please don't ask questions knowingly. I have clearly seen what you just did. If you want to survive, just follow me and go to His Majesty to answer your questions. This will save me from taking action. Wei Qinglan looked like he was sure of victory. Longfei and Longwu looked at each other, their eyes revealing some determination. We brothers and sisters really don't understand what Commander Wei said. We don't know what Commander means. Longfei knew that the most important thing at the moment was not to fight Wei Qinglan, but to delay as much time as possible. As long as Xiaoxian destroyed the people in the courtyard, prohibition, then things will be simple. Haha, it seems you really won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Is it possible that you really have to take action and capture you all before you bow your heads? Wei Qinglan's face was cold. He could tell that Longfei and Longwu were at the peak of the power of the great Dao. And he is a high-level spiritual god, so it would be easy to deal with the two of them, but he does not want to waste his power on these two people. He also understood that if there was to be a battle, his only opponent would be Xiaoxian. As a high-level cultivator of the spiritual god realm, Wei Qinglan also has his own arrogance. After seeing clearly that Longfei and Longwu only had the cultivation of the peak of the power of the great Dao, a sneer naturally appeared on the corner of his mouth. He has been in the spiritual realm for many years. He is extremely familiar with the practice of cultivation, and is extremely familiar with the gap between the spiritual god realm and the power realm of the great Dao. The two are simply one in the sky and one under the sky. Not to mention that only Longfei and Longwu are here to stop him. Even if there were 20 of them, he would not take them seriously. Looking at you, do you think you won't shed tears when you see the coffin? Wei Qinglan's face gradually darkened when she saw that Longfei and Longwu had no intention of getting out of the way. I'm sorry, Commander Wei, I can't let you pass today. Longfei Longwu also understood that there was a big gap in strength between them and Wei Qinglan, but given the current situation, they might have no choice but to believe in Xiaoxian. Only Xiaoxian can save them. After hearing these words, Wei Qinglan's face became even more ugly, but after seeing the Tao power surging in Longfei and Longwu, he smiled instead of being angry. In his opinion, these two people, with their meager strength, were so arrogant in front of him. Aren't you just looking for death? Good. Since you are seeking death, don't blame me for being rude. Wei Qinglan smiled slightly, clenched his fist in his hand, roared angrily, and appeared in front of Longfei and Longwu like a ghost like lightning. With endless wind noise, the iron fist smashed directly at the door between Longfei and Longwu. Dragon Tiger Fist. Blue Dragon Fist. Longfei and Longwu didn't dare to neglect, they mobilized all their strength, crossed their arms and blocked them in front of them, trying to block the blow with all his strength. But what happened was contrary to expectations. In the late stage of the spiritual god realm, he could already absorb power slightly from the world, and the majestic power directly rushed towards the two of them. At first, Longfei Longwu was still a little unconvinced. After all, they are also cultivators who have been immersed in the realm of the power of the Tao for many years. Their understanding of the power of the Tao is quite deep, and they are only one step away from the spiritual realm. Therefore, it is natural that the two of them can hold Wei Qinglan down by joining forces. A period of time. But who knows, when Wei Qinglan's power is revealed. Only then did they realize how ridiculous their idea was. They were kicked out without even being delayed for a second. Boy, I think you are really tired of living. In that case, don't blame me for being rude, Wei Qinglan said and was about to take action. At this point, let him take 100 fire whips. Long Wu's strength was not as good as Wei Qinglan's, but he was also arrogant in his heart. He spit out a mouthful of blood on the latter and glared at him. But after being injured, the anger in his heart became stronger, but he could roughly understand that the person who caused all this was Xiaoxian, so he came to Xiaoxian immediately. Wei Qinglan was so angry that she raised her big hand and was about to smash Long Wu's Tianling cover down. Originally, he was concentrating on breaking the restrictions in the yard. Xiaoxian said coldly. Since you have been seriously injured, I think you should not be too arrogant and ask for trouble. Xiaoxian was unmoved. This fire spirit whip is a punishment specifically used to punish cultivators in the Kanglong Empire. Once the whip is applied, even the cultivator will have to endure the dual pain of the flames and the whip, as well as the soul blow from it. Turn around. Wei Qinglan was shocked. That's right, I not only want to find you, but I also want to kill you. Who knew you would be so shameless? Then don't blame me for being ruthless. Xiaoxian's soul has a keen sense, and he felt it immediately when Wei Qinglan approached the courtyard. Pooh! Get lost. Xiaoxian didn't even look at Wei Qinglan. Senior brother, Long Wu wanted to get up, but he also felt weak. Then don't blame me for being ruthless. If they let Wei Qinglan go out of mercy today, that would be cruelty to themselves. I wanted to let you go. Xiaoxian? You still dare to come out? After seeing the latter, Wei Qinglan's mouth became more sarcastic. I thought you would just be a coward. Why, you still want to take action? Wei Qinglan was stunned for a moment, but the next second his face became more contemptuous. Looking at you, are you still looking for trouble with me? You're a pretty good-looking girl. If you are willing to follow me in the future, I guarantee that you will have endless training resources on the ground of Kanglong Empire. Wei Qinglan walked up to Long Wu and reached out to touch her face. Under Wei Qinglan's huge strength, his chest even sunk in, and then he struggled and fell to the ground. Because he damaged the Dream Spirit magical artifact, even though he was under Mo Hong still punished him more or less. Are you deceiving me? He also knew that since Wei Qinglan had appeared here, he probably already knew that the things in the secret realm were related to them. However, just as he waved his big hand, a hand grabbed his wrist, and the huge and pure force prevented him from moving. Even Wei Qinglan, who was at a high level in the spiritual god realm, was also seriously injured. Long Fei spurted out a mouthful of blood. Only then did Wei Qinglan see that the person grabbing his wrist was actually Xiaoxian. Court death. But when he saw that Wei Qinglan took action unceremoniously and hurt Long Wu, he was also filled with anger, got up and walked towards Wei Qinglan. 100 fire spirit whips. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 545. Hear these words. Wei Qinglan's face became increasingly ugly. He could feel that Xiaoxian was really trying to cause trouble for him this time. This shocked and amused him. In his eyes, a cultivator like Xiaoxian who has just entered the spiritual realm is no threat to him at all. As long as he is willing, he can make the latter die without burial at any time. But now, Xiaoxian actually took the initiative to provoke. In an instant, Wei Qinglan couldn't help but look at Xiaoxian carefully, and sneered, Xiaoxian, I know you have some abilities. Perhaps, in the circle of your power of the road, you are considered a figure, but your little strength is not worth mentioning. In the spiritual realm, there is nothing. Wei Qinglan deliberately made the last sentence a lot more serious. There was also undisguised contempt on his face. In response to these taunts, the corners of Xiao Xian's mouth raised slightly. Yes or no, you have to try it? Okay, since you are seeking death yourself, don't blame me for being ruthless. Wei Qinglan's eyes were stern. Actually, even if you don't come, I won't spare you. Xiao Xian hates evil as much as he hates it. He knew that Wei Qinglan came to him with the Dream Spirit artifact just to cause trouble for him. He even wanted to directly use the Dream Spirit magical artifact to destroy his soul. If not for the help of the system. I'm afraid that by now, he has already turned into a madman and fool who has lost his soul. Then let me see how capable you are. Xiao Xian drew out the Sirius sword from behind. After several times of strengthening, his Sirius sword has become much more powerful than before. One swing of the sword is enough to breaking gold and cracking stone. Haha, you are still a swordsman? This is quite rare. Wei Qinglan smiled sarcastically. There are many sword cultivators on the Dao continent, but there are very few sword cultivators who can truly become famous. Even so, there are still many young practitioners who take the initiative to practice swordsmanship. Even among Wei Qinglan's forbidden army, there are soldiers who practice swordsmanship, but he has the most contempt for these people, because in his opinion, these ignorant and arrogant swordsmen are completely blinded by arrogance and pride. Of course, the ending for these young swordsmen will not be good either. Due to the lack of excellent masters and high-quality training resources, most of them will be beaten to death by the cold reality. Even if they have some talent in swordsmanship, they will eventually become unknown people. This is a matter of hundreds of years. On the huge eastern wilderness continent, there is only one sword cultivator like Gong Sun Hea whose strength has been recognized. It's so funny. Do you think you can become a master of swordsmanship just because you have obtained the basic sword skills? Today, I will let you know that there is a truth beyond the sky. Wei Qinglan sneered, stood up directly, and with the power brewing in his hand, he punched Xiao Xian in the chest. Qinglong Fist. The Cyan Fist was like fine iron, attacking with the sound of wind. It seemed like just an ordinary punch, but with the added power of a high-level spiritual god realm, this punch was enough to shock people. At this time, Longfei Longwu, who was injured and fell to the ground, was also sweating for Xiao Xian. Master Xiao Xian, be careful. This person is at a high level in the spiritual realm and is very powerful. Don't be careless. They were worried about Longfei and Longwu. Xiao Xian just frowned slightly, and with the movement of the skills in his hands, the Chunyang sword technique was also displayed one by one. Xiao Xian looked solemn. Boy, do you know that a man is not guilty but only carries a jade? Wei Qinglan sneered. I have to say that you have some strength, but if you think you can defeat the enemy with just a few sword moves, I am indeed a bit arrogant. Chunyang's sword technique was created by Gong Sun Hea back then. This really surprised Xiao Xian. This allowed Wei Qinglan to see some clues. Is it? Wanting to understand this, Wei Qinglan's eyes flashed with greed. In the first confrontation just now, he took some advantage, but he also understood the reason behind this. And this is exactly what Xiao Xian wants to achieve. This discovery really surprised Xiao Xian. Now, he has the feeling that man and sword are one. Seeing this scene, Wei Qinglan's face turned ugly. Under the impact of swords and fists. Make a deafening sound. He understood that when a cultivator is fighting with others, the most taboo thing is to get angry, otherwise his weaknesses will be easily exposed. Since Commander Wei wants to give you advice, let's show him his true strength. By the way, I also want to see if the commander of the Kanglong Empire's forbidden army is in vain. Could it be that the reason why Xiao Xian was able to have such powerful and majestic power was just because of that sword and his sword moves? It's unbelievable. Wei Qinglan took 2 or 3 steps back, while Xiao Xian only took 1 step back, and then stood firmly on the spot. Judging from the reaction, he was actually weaker than Xiao Xian in the head-to-head confrontation just now. This is simply unimaginable. For a moment, he could feel the qi and blood surging in Wei Qinglan's body from far away, and he was obviously very angry. Every move seems to make him more proficient in controlling the heavenly wolf sword. I guess this should be the subtlety of the pure yang sword technique. What Xiao Xian said was very rude. Give the other party more opportunities to take advantage of. After all, he had seen clearly just now that Xiao Xian, who was at the primary level of the spiritual god realm, should be far weaker than him in terms of Dao power. But why was he able to burst out with such a powerful force in the battle just now? Turning his eyes, Wei Qinglan noticed the heavenly wolf sword in Xiao Xian's hand. He discovered that this heavenly wolf sword constantly had Tao power flowing automatically, and when combined with the sword moves in Xiao Xian's hand, it had different effects. In addition to the exquisite sword skills, Xiao Xian felt that when he used these sword techniques, the Tao power in his body was instilled into the Tianlang sword. Xiao Xian roared angrily, and facing Wei Qinglan's attack, the long sword in his hand advanced instead of retreating, and took the initiative to attack the opponent. You know, before the soul entered the middle stage of Taixu, he also used the pure yang sword art, but the effect was not as good as it is today. Involuntarily, Xiao Xian felt more confident in his heart. Then I would like to see what trump card you, Commander Wei, have. If the pure yang sword technique can be activated infinitely, doesn't it mean that in the future, he can casually challenge higher level practitioners than him? On the one hand, through the power of his soul, he clearly felt that Wei Qinglan's Dao power was very weak and seemed to have suffered some injuries. On the other hand, he also discovered that the Chunyang sword art actually contained a powerful Dao pattern array. As long as he instills a small amount of Tao power, he can inspire several times or even 10 times the power. The huge force collided together, which also caused both sides to retreat. Pure Yang sword technique, the first style, shattering mountain sword. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 546. Wei Qinglan, since you have taken the initiative to expose your weaknesses, then don't blame me for being rude. Xiao Xian sneered, today, I will let you know what it means to be outside the sky. Is there a way out there? Xiao Xian, are you crazy today? Do you really think you can defeat me with just one sword move you learned from somewhere? The commander will let you see what true strength is today. Wei Qinglan was really angry this time. I saw a cyan seal forming on his hand, and then, a cyan armor directly covered his body. It was the protective weapon given to him by Mo Hongyu, the green python armor. Is this the legendary green python armor? It is said that this is a yellow-level intermediate spiritual treasure. If this armor is activated, it can increase the strength by 30%. Long Fei took a breath of air. I didn't expect that Master Xiao Xian could force Wei Qinglan to use such a thing. After hearing this, Long Wu couldn't help but feel a little worried. In this case, wouldn't young Master Xiao Xian be in danger? Yes, we should make preparations later. If we can, we will try to block Wei Qinglan when it is dangerous and find a way out for young Master Xiao Xian. In the future, our little safety may only depend on young Master Xiao Xian. After Long Fei said this, Long Wu on the side also nodded secretly, with a bit more determination in his eyes. Obviously, they have all made mental preparations to help Xiao Xian desperately block Wei Qinglan. Relative to their mental activity, Xiao Xian felt calmer in his heart. Since he cultivated the powerful power of the soul, his ability to perceive the enemy has been greatly improved. In just a few minutes, he had already felt that although Wei Qinglan was menacing, there was something fatal about him. One is that he seems to have suffered some serious injuries and cannot fully exert his full strength, the other is that the power of the soul in Wei Qinglan is very weak, and has not even reached the initial level of Taixu. If anyone else knows this, I am afraid that this is not a weakness. After all, Wei Qinglan is a practitioner who practices physical body and kung fu. He has basically no training in the soul. It is relatively normal for the power of the soul to be weak. Moreover, in the final analysis, Wei Qinglan is just a high-level cultivator of the spiritual God realm. In the level of the spiritual God realm, requiring them to cultivate the power of the divine soul is a rather excessive approach. After all, not every cultivator in the spiritual God realm. The power of the soul can be cultivated to the point of being as perverted as Xiaoxian. Your armor is quite handsome, but it looks stupid. I don't know if it has any effect. After seeing Wei Qinglan's weakness, Xiaoxian became more confident and mocked him directly. Xiaoxian, I admit that you have some strength. But today, I will definitely cut off your head with my own hands to let you know the strength of this commander. Wei Qinglan was furious, and the green python armor on her body was operating to the extreme. A green halberd appeared out of thin air, drew a sharp ray of light in mid-air, and stabbed directly towards Xiaoxian's chest. Under the huge power, the green halberd even caused vibrations in the surrounding courtyards. Well done. Xiaoxian was happy and not afraid. The serious sword in his hand did not retreat but moved forward. The second move of the Pure Yang sword technique, Splitting Stone, was activated. A golden sword appeared out of thin air and directly collided with Wei Qinglan's cyan halberd. Because of the last experience, Xiaoxian knew that if he wanted to break Wei Qinglan's tricks, if he just used hard strength, even if he won in the end, it would be a lose-lose scenario. This was not what he wanted to see. On the contrary, what he needs more is to use the easiest way to defeat the latter and leave here. After all, he may encounter other troubles in other parts of the Kanglong Empire. Spiritual art, white haunting. A spiritual power emerged in Xiaoxian's mind, and there was suddenly a giant white dragon between him and Wei Qinglan. The giant dragon, with its illusory figure, attacked directly towards Wei Qinglan's divine palace. At this time, Wei Qinglan just felt that an extremely terrifying and ferocious white dragon suddenly appeared in his mind. In a moment of panic, he could no longer hold the green halberd in his hand, and he couldn't help but feel fear in his heart, and he also retreated one after another on his feet. Take advantage of this opportunity. Xiaoxian's Pure Yang sword technique was fully displayed, and he swung the long sword in his hand and stabbed Wei Qinglan's throat directly. The sword energy of the long sword comes to you. At this time, Wei Qinglan realized that the danger was approaching, and quickly put aside the fear of the dragon in her mind, and used all her Tao power to resist Xiaoxian's attack with this method. But he had this reaction. It was still a little late. The serious sword was like a stream of light, directly penetrating Wei Qinglan's hastily constructed defense, and was inserted directly into the latter's throat. Scarlet blood flowed out of his throat instantly. Before dying, Wei Qinglan opened her eyes wide, grasped the serious sword tightly with both hands, and looked at Xiaoxian in shock. It's like looking at a monster. Similarly, Longfi Longwu also had a face full of surprise and couldn't believe what was happening in front of him. They also knew before that Xiaoxian did get a lot of benefits from this trip to the secret realm, and his strength and realm were greatly improved. But they still couldn't believe it. Xiaoxian relied on his strength at the beginning of the spiritual god realm to defeat Wei Qinglan, and even killed the latter with just 2 sword moves. How is this possible? Wei Qinglan was really killed by Mr. Xiao. Longwu squeezed his thigh hard, his beautiful eyes full of surprise. Master Xiaoxian is truly a man who can create miracles. Longfei was no less shocked than Xiaoxian. After watching the lifeless Wei Qinglan fall to the ground, his eyes were also full of disbelief, and finally he focused on Xiaoxian again. At this moment, in addition to admiration, he looked at Xiaoxian in his eyes, and there was even a little more admiration. As a cultivator, becoming stronger is almost the only obsession of cultivating a path. Long Fei knows that his talent is average, and his lifelong dream may be to become a Kengshen realm master like Mo Hong. Now, after seeing Xiao Xian's strength, his eyes were even more warm. Could it be that the Kanglong Empire is about to produce another genius? Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 547. Young Master Xiao Xian has great skills. I didn't expect that I could kill Wei Qinglan with 2 swords. It's really surprising. At this time, a familiar female voice suddenly came from the door of the courtyard. When Xiao Xian turned around, he saw a woman wearing a black gauze skirt with a graceful figure and stunning appearance behind him. Those slender and straight legs again. It's even more charming. When he saw this woman's face, Xiao Xuanke sighed secretly. It seemed that he had really underestimated Mo Li before. This is also a goddess-level figure. Just like in the secret realm, Mo Li still looked serious at this moment, even more serious than in the secret realm. I need your help. Just when Xiao Xian didn't know how to face Mo Li suddenly said in a weak voice. Only then did Xiao Xian notice that Mo Li's face was a little abnormally pale. There also seemed to be a faint smell of blood on his body. Are you injured? Xiao Xian frowned slightly and hurriedly stepped forward, only to notice the blood seeping out of the latter's lower abdomen. It's a small injury, it's okay. Let's leave quickly. Mo Li shook his head. If my prediction is good, Mo Hong will soon notice what is happening here. Wei Qinglan is dead. Mo Li was relatively calm at first, but when she saw Wei Qinglan lying on the ground, covered in blood, her face was suddenly full of surprise. She never expected that Xiao Xian could be so capable and able to kill someone like Wei Qinglan. Yes, he is seeking death himself, so don't blame me for being rude, Xiao Xian said coldly. I didn't expect you to have such great abilities. Mo Li shook his head and looked at Xiao Xian with strange eyes. Wei Qinglan is also a high-level spiritual master in the spiritual realm. What method did you use to do it? Could it be, do you have any secret method? Hearing Mo Li's words, Xiao Xian smiled and was non-committal. Secret method? Of course he does, but naturally he won't reveal his trump card easily. There is no secret method. He is just looking for death. He is still so arrogant when he is injured, so I took care of him, Xiao Xian said casually. Is there such a thing? Although Xiao Xian said it calmly. But Mo Li was full of surprise in his heart. He looked at Xiao Xian as if he were looking at a stranger. She could also feel it since coming out of the secret realm. Xiao Xian's strength has been greatly improved, even to the point where she can't see through it. There are 3 of us here. It's not a problem to deal with one Wei Qinglan, but, Princess Mo is a bit capable. Can she get out of the restriction with just one person? Xiao Xian looked at Mo Li curiously. It's just a little trick from our Qinghua Empire. Mo Li was also unwilling to expose his trump card. Since you are injured, just swallow this qi and blood pill. Hear what Mo Li said. Xiao Xian can also roughly feel that Mo Li must have paid a heavy price for being able to get out of the restriction in the courtyard. Similarly, he could also feel that Mo Li was also hostile to the Kanglong Empire. This situation is also a good thing for him. At least for now, maybe they are still on the same front. Then what are Princess Mo's plans next? Xiao Xian asked. From now on, don't call me Princess Mo. Although Mo Li was injured, his temper was still stubborn. Then how do I call you? Xiao Xian was stunned. He had never thought about the problem with this title before. Make a deal. Call me King Li, Mo Li said. Thinking of this, Xiao Xian became a little more angry at the system and communicated directly with the system. Brother system, why are you playing with me here? Is the secret you told me known to others? Of course, if you are willing, I can give you a chance. In contrast to his confusion, the faces of Long Fei and Long Wu next to them were a little moved. After looking at each other, they said in unison, "Is it King Hua Academy? Maybe this matter is a bit difficult for him now." He also thought about whether Mo Li would always remember his homeland, or whether he would assimilate into the Kanglong Empire since he came to the Kanglong Empire. Oh. Yes, if you two are willing to send me back to King Hua Empire, I can guarantee that the three of you will enter King Hua Academy to study. Qing Li nodded. But now it seems that she still has not forgotten her motherland. You know, he knew Qing Li's identity only because of the system prompts. What the hell? Don't worry, I won't treat you badly in the King Hua Empire. That's good. Opportunity. Qing Li glanced at Xiao Xian and said, I don't know if young Master Xiao Xian would like to come with me. Could it be that he was fooled by the system? Of course, Xiao Xian has not forgotten that he still has to find the key to relieve the disasters of Tianxian continent and Primordial continent on Dao Dao continent. Princess King Li is willing to propose this opportunity, we can't thank you enough. Long Fei looked excited. But that's not such a big deal. Xiao Xian thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. In fact, his current situation is really embarrassing. Now that he has offended Mo Hong, he will definitely not be able to stay in the Kanglong Empire any longer. Xiao Xian looked confused. I want to go to King Hua Empire. Yes, thank you Princess King Li. Long Wu also said. Reaction to Dragon Flying Dragon Dance. In fact, after learning Mo Li's identity from the system, hearing Xiao Xian's agreement, Qing Li also breathed a sigh of relief. However, I still want to remind you that if you want to enter King Hua Academy, you need to have enough talent. All I can provide is just an opportunity. He believed that as long as he had enough strength, it would not be impossible to find this key. Xiao Xian and Long Fei Long Wu looked at each other, with a bit of hesitation on their faces, and then said, So, you are really the princess of the King Hua Empire. As someone who inexplicably emerged from the ancient Ai. He has no family, no sect, not even any relatives or friends. The only ones he has are the friends Qing Li Long Fei Long Wu he made in the secret realm just now. Instead, Xiao Xian had a question mark on his face. What is going on? Looking at Long Fei Long Wu, it seems like they know Tsinghua University very well. This made Xiao Xian couldn't help but take a high look at her. He originally thought that this should be a small secret, but now it seems that even an ordinary cultivator like Long Fei Long Wu can know it. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 548. It was not as expected by Xiao Xian. Although he was aggressive, the system didn't take him to heart at all, and it obviously didn't take this matter to heart. It was as if teasing Xiao Xian was such a natural thing. Although Xiao Xian was angry, he was also very helpless, as if he had been punched on cotton. Humph, I'll spare you this time. But in the King Hua Empire, if you do this to me again, don't blame me for being rude. In desperation, Xiao Xian could only say one harsh word. Reached an agreement with King Li. Xiao Xian took Long Fei and Long Wu out of the courtyard, and first went straight to the sect where the Long Omen was located. See Gong soon Xiao Xiao again. Sure enough, Xiao Xian saw that the originally lively and cute little girl had now become sickly, and the originally pink face had now turned blue-black. It's like there are bruises gathering on the face. He tentatively touched her arm, and sure enough, it felt cold to the bone, like a piece of thousand-year-old ice. Master Xiao Xian. Long Fei couldn't help but say. Okay, these two pieces of raw ore were obtained before, how should they be used? Human lives were at stake, and Xiao Xian did not dare to be stingy with the raw ore. Thank you, Mr. Xiao Xian. Long Fei looked grateful. He knew that these mineral veins were obtained by Xiaoxian in those mineral vein caravans before. Although these things cannot be regarded as peerless treasures, they are still valuable. If you put it outside, it will often be something with a price but no market. Now, Xiaoxian can take out things so generously, which is enough to prove his kind heart. Save people first, these mineral veins are nothing. Xiaoxian waved his hand. To be honest, he had not been on the Dao continent for a long time, and he did not have many resources to help him practice. He originally planned to keep these veins for his own understanding. He also knew very well that if these mineral resources were used on him, they might help him take a further step on the path of cultivation. But now, these resources are related to Gongsun Xiaoxiao's life. Xiaoxian naturally cannot be stingy. Perhaps, this matter requires Mr. Xiaoxian to take action himself and use the Tao power in the mineral veins to instill it into the little body. Long Fei hesitated and said. Me, Xiaoxian couldn't help but gasped. He was already in pain when the mineral veins were taken out, and now he was asked to personally instill it into Gongsun Xiaoxiao's body. Wasn't this going to hurt his heart to death? Yes, in our dragon and tiger sect, apart from my master, you are the only one who is in the spiritual god realm. Long Fei looked embarrassed. Long Wu and I can also extract the Tao power from the mineral veins, but if we do it, we can only extract about 30% of it. If Mr. Xiao do it yourself, the effect is different. Hearing this, Xiaoxian also roughly understood. At different stages of cultivation, a cultivator's ability to control the power of the Dao is greatly different. Generally speaking, the higher the realm of a cultivator, the more proficient he is in controlling the power of the Dao. After embarking on the path of cultivation, Xiaoxian also discovered that the control of Taoist power was not only due to the improvement of Taoist power, but more importantly, the state of the soul. The higher the realm of the soul, the more skillful it is in controlling Tao power. Don't worry, I will try my best to let Xiao Xiao absorb more than 80% of the principles of mineral veins, Xiaoxian said. He. I've seen arrogant people, but never such arrogant people. Do you really think that some things are as simple as talking? What a waste of money looking for mediocre people. Only senior brother Long Fei can find such an arrogant practitioner. Just when Xiaoxian was about to absorb the energy from the mineral veins and instill it into Gongsun Xiaoxiao, suddenly there was a cold and stern voice in the sect. Hearing this voice, Xiaoxian couldn't help but frown, turned around and glanced behind him, only to find that the person who said this was actually a cripple. Who are you? Xiaoxian frowned slightly. Inner disciple of the Longhu sect, Cao, the lame man said with a proud look on his face. What? Is it possible that the young master still has some advice? Advice is out of the question, but if Mr. Cao has nothing else to do, please leave quickly. Xiaoxian withdrew his gaze. Excuse me. Gongsun Xiaoxiao is practicing in our section. Even if he needs treatment, he should be treated by the elders of our section. How can outsiders interfere? Doesn't this make others think that our Dragon Tiger sect has no one? Cao glanced at Xiaoxian. Besides, what qualifications does a person at the beginning of the spiritual god realm have to speak so brazenly? Xiaoxian was also a little impatient. In fact, if it weren't for the fact that he was now in Longomen, he would have given no face to Cao. What do you want to do? Xiaoxian could see that Cao was not a good person and was too lazy to talk nonsense with him. My master, old man Mo Shan, is in the meeting hall. Now, since there are mineral veins here, it stands to reason that my master should be there to treat Gongsun Xiaoxiao. Cao said directly, my master, old Mo Shan, is an intermediate master of the spiritual god realm. Don't you still feel at ease if he takes action? Hearing this, Xiaoxian was a little confused. Gongsun Xiaoxiao had stayed in the Longomen for such a long time. Judging from the current development of his condition, it was obvious that he had suffered a lot before. Since this old man in motion is willing to treat, why didn't you come forward earlier? Is it really because of the lack of mineral veins? In Xiaoxian's view, this reason is a bit untenable, not to mention that Caoyu's arrogance now does not seem like he is taking the initiative to treat him well. Master Xiaoxian, you don't know something. According to the rules of Long Omen, every time a mineral vein is used to treat Gongsun Xiao, the healer can charge 30% of the mineral vein, so, this Caou is here for the mineral vein. Long Wu approached Xiaoxian. Said the side. What the hell? After hearing this, Xiaoxian exploded immediately. What's wrong with this? The mineral veins he was looking for were extremely rare treasures that were difficult to find, but they were also of great value. Now this is the so-called old man of motion. We haven't even met each other in person, yet this is what happened? Seriously speaking, if Gongsun Xiao is treated by this greedy guy, let alone 30%, I am afraid that this guy will take away even 50%. Forget it, thank you for your kindness. I won't bother senior brother Cao about the treatment. Longfei obviously felt the purpose behind Caou's back, and directly handed over his hand and said, but now, we have agreed to young master Xiaoxian, so, you want to reject my master? Caou's face suddenly darkened. It was obvious that he was very dissatisfied with Longfei's attitude. However, then he seemed to suddenly remember something, and a smile appeared on his face again. In that case, I only need 1/10 of these veins today. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 549. Why? Who do you think you are? Why did you get 1/10 of the mineral vein for no reason? Don't wait for Longfei to speak. Xiaoxian was the first to be dissatisfied. He could also roughly tell that Caou took the initiative to come to the door today not to treat Gongsun Xiao. They came here entirely to get a share of the mineral veins. Xiaoxian couldn't say how much he looked down on such people. After all, practicing a discipline depends on one's own ability. Since Old Man Motion can earn cultivation resources, this is naturally where he excels. If this was done to others, Xiaoxian would naturally not bother to take care of it. But now, these people have all set their sights on him, which is something he can't stand. Boy, this matter has nothing to do with you. I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. Caou suddenly became unhappy after hearing Xiaoxian's words. That's not necessarily the case. I have control over this matter. Xiaoxian sneered. He has seen too many people like Caou. This kind of person is obviously the kind of person who bullies the weak and fears the strong. The more you withdraw from him, the more arrogant he becomes. On the contrary, if you can be tougher, Caou will consider whether Xiaoxian is someone he can provoke. Not as expected by Xiaoxian. After he showed such an attitude, Caou obviously hesitated, looked at Empress Xiaoxian deeply, and then said sadly, brother, this is an internal matter of our Longhu sect, and I hope you don't meddle in other people's business, you'll get burned. Is this a threat? Xiaoxian didn't care at all. If you think so, then it can be considered a threat. Caou was a little angry. I can tell you that my master, old Mo Shan, is a master in the Kengshen realm. So what? He is a master of the Golden God realm. Do you really think there is no one behind me? Xiaoxian's expression remained unchanged. You. It was not what Xiaoxian expected. After hearing his half-truths and half-false words, Caou hesitated and looked at Xiaoxian as if he didn't know what to say. In fact, he was really a little scared. After all, cultivators rarely fight alone. Often some seemingly inconspicuous cultivators have powerful sects or backgrounds behind them. A little carelessness can lead to trouble. For people like Xiaoxian, who can reach the spiritual realm at a young age, they either have excellent opportunities or have a powerful sect. Without clarifying this point, Cao did not dare to get too stiff with Xiaoxian. Back off, I want treatment. Xiaoxian was originally a fox who pretended to be a tiger. At this time, he was anxious to treat Gongsun Xiaoxiao and was too lazy to get into trouble with him. Cao hesitated for a moment, then snorted coldly, turned around and left. Seeing this scene, Xiaoxian was okay, but Longfei Longwu next to him was taken aback and looked at Xiaoxian in disbelief. You know, even inside Longoman, Cao is an arrogant and domineering guy. He often bullies his fellow disciples because of his high status as a master. Naturally, the dragon-flying dragon dance is also among them. Moreover, Cao himself is also a master of the spiritual god realm. He can be regarded as a core disciple in the section. The sect spent a lot of training resources to train him, so his status in the sect is not low. So even if Cao does things a little too much, no elder will blame him. But they didn't expect that when Xiaoxian came, Cao suffered such a big loss and even made the latter leave in despair. But in the end, Xiaoxian gritted his teeth, took out the 3 Dao stones that had been in his storage space for a while, and began to slowly infuse the energy of the Dao stones into Gongsun Xiaoxiao's body. If you wait until Cao reacts, you can go back and cause trouble for him. Looking at the abandoned stone in his hand that had completely absorbed the power, Xiaoxian was really dumbfounded. Although Gongsun Xiaoxiao was a natural sword embryo, he was an out-and-out gold-swallowing machine. Xiaoxian also noticed that Gongsun Xiaoxiao's face had become rosy and he looked much better. That's really tricky. With the cooperation of Dao power and divine soul power, the pure and warm Dao power from the mineral veins was slowly extracted, and then instilled into Gongsun Xiaoxiao's body. At this moment, Xiaoxian had no intention of being complacent. He also understood that he might be able to deceive Cao temporarily, but he could not deceive him for a long time. With the power of Taixu intermediate soul. At this moment, Gongsun Xiaoxiao was like a huge Tao power absorption machine, constantly absorbing the energy in the Tao stone. Too late and things will change. It can be seen that their life is probably not easy. Although I feel a little reluctant in my heart. For these powers, it takes less than half a stick of incense. Not really. But because the mineral veins are relatively precious, under normal circumstances, these mineral veins will be used to heal injuries and achieve realm breakthroughs at critical moments. After 3 rare Tao stones were used in succession, Longfei Longwu said helplessly, however, if Xiaoxiao continues to be like this in the future, we really can't afford it. Xiaoxian was also relatively happy. He looked at Longfei Longwu with emotion and said, looking at this, I'm afraid it's not easy for you to raise such a gold-eating beast all these years. Seeing that Tao stones are not wasted. With this absorption efficiency, if you are not born in a great emperor or a great sect, who can afford to raise it? Even ordinary disciples like Cao can come up to provoke him. It's not that Xiaoxian is afraid of a little Cao, but now, they are still in the Dragon Tiger Gate, and the status of Longfei and Longwu is obviously not as high as Cao. If they cause trouble, it may be difficult to get rid of it in the end. Any piece of it is worth hundreds of thousands of stones. Hearing this, Xiaoxian also nodded slightly. You must know that the Tao power in the mineral veins is different from what the cultivators can cultivate themselves. The Tao power in the mineral veins is extremely gentle. Although it is powerful, it will not damage the cultivator's body. Fortunately, luckily I did not disgrace my life. In particular, the mineral veins Xiaoxian took out now are all very precious mineral veins. Gongsun Xiaoxiao absorbed a mineral vein stone. A white power of the technique was transmitted into the mineral vein. Xiaoxian is very efficient at absorbing energy from mineral veins, and can basically extract more than 80% of the Tao power. Actually, Gongsun Xiaoxiu's current appearance has only appeared in the past 2 years. If he had been there since he was a child, I'm afraid we wouldn't be able to support him. Not only Xiaoxian, but also Long Fei and Long Wu looked envious. He had never been to Long Omen before, so he didn't know, but it was different now. He could tell that Long Fei Long Wu's status in the sect was not high. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 550. This, looks so small. If there is no Dao stone to support her, I'm afraid she won't be able to hold on for long. Xiaoxian frowned slightly. Dao stone is also an expensive cultivation resource on Dao continent. Ordinary people really don't. However, he was not an ordinary person. The system had tricked him inexplicably before, and Xiaoxian had always wanted to take the opportunity to regain his position. Isn't now a good opportunity? If you trust me, I can take Xiao to practice, Xiaoxian suddenly said to Long Fei Long Wu. What you said is true. Long Fei's eyes were filled with joy, but then they dimmed a bit. He had raised Gongsun Xiao since he was a child, and there was already a deep relationship between them. But now, because he couldn't get the Dao stone, he had to give Gongsun Xiao to Xiaoxian. He was also a little reluctant to give up. Don't worry, I will protect Xiao well, and maybe Xiao will have a better life in the Qinghua Empire. Xiaoxian looked back at King Li. This little girl is so cute. If you are willing, I guarantee that she will have endless Tao stones in the Qinghua Empire. Qing Li turned around seriously and took the initiative to say to Long Fei Long Wu, this can be said to be my personal guarantee and the guarantee of the Qinghua Empire. Long Fei and Long Wu looked at each other. They knew very well in their hearts that the reason why Qing Li said this was entirely because of Xiaoxian's face. If Xiaoxian hadn't been standing here for a few days, this matter would probably have been impossible. Moreover, they could also see that Gongsun Xiaoxiu's illness was not an accident, and looking at the current momentum, the demand for Dao stones must be growing in the future. Long Fei Long Wu definitely can't get these things out. Perhaps, letting Gongsun Xiao follow King Li is the best choice. Although they were reluctant to give up, after understanding these reasons, they still nodded helplessly and agreed. See their reactions. Xiaoxian was a little confused. He seemed to feel that Long Fei and Long Wu didn't seem to want to leave the Kanglong Empire. Aren't you going to Qinghua Empire? Aren't you going to join Qinghua Academy? Xiaoxian couldn't help but ask. Does young Master Xiaoxian think we can go? Long Fei helplessly pointed to the Dragon Tiger Gate logo on his clothes. Oh, I forgot. Xiaoxian was a little embarrassed. He also understood that ordinary disciples of cultivation in a sect would have some restrictions on them. Long Fei Long Wu is also a member of the Dragon and Tiger clan. It is also impossible to leave your own country and go to another country to attend an unfamiliar college. After thinking about this, Xiaoxian's face became more understanding. So, if that's the case, it's just him and Qinghua who are going to Qinghua Academy. If everything is settled, let's set off quickly. Qing Li was straightforward. If my prediction is good, it shouldn't be long before the college enrolls students. All right. Xiaoxian walked to Gongsun Xiao and hugged the latter. At this time, Gongsun Xiao suddenly opened her eyes. When she saw Xiaoxian, her first reaction was to smile proactively, as if they had a very good relationship. This time, Xiaoxian was a little surprised. He had met Gongsun Xiao before, but at that time, it was just a quick meeting. Their relationship wasn't that good either. The system sighed. You kid, you really have the word shameless on your face. After he said this, the system obviously hesitated. Xiaoxian was a little dumbfounded. Simply, he said directly, brother system, that's all I have to say. The two of us can be regarded as both prosperous and destructive. If I die on the Dao continent, it will not be good for you, right? Who knows, the latter still looks indifferent, as if he doesn't care at all. It was as if there was an academic relationship between them. Xiao Xian thought fiercely and said at the same time, "Brother system, don't you think about the billions of living beings in Tianxian continent and primordial continent?" Not as expected by Xiao Xian. Ahem, please don't contact the host randomly. Xiao Xian changed his mind and said, "If I don't have the resources to support Gongsun Xiao Xiao, she might be taken away by Qing Li. You don't want to see such a thing happen, right? This Gongsun Xiao Xiao is born with an extraordinary physique, and his future achievements are immeasurable. If the host treats him with care, he may become the host's help in the future." Huh? System brother, you. If these people are gone, I don't care, but system brother, you will have to bear this responsibility. At this time, Xiao Xian understood that it was time to compete for the patience of both parties. If he could be more patient, then the next thing would be easier. Cause and effect. What's going on? Xiao Xian couldn't help but mutter to himself. Although she is cute now, if you really want to talk about it, let alone Xiao Xian, even Qing Li, the third princess of the Qinghua Empire, would not be able to supply Gongsun Xiao Xiao with so many Dao stones. It's very simple. You learned Gongsun Hei's pure Yang sword art in the secret realm before, and the pure Yang sword art was actually refined by Gongsun Hei using his own blood. But, since you respect him so much, system brother, it means that Gongsun Xiao Xiao is also very important to you, right? Xiao Xian thought quickly and continued. Are you contacting me randomly? I'm afraid only the system brother knows about it, right? Anyway, after such a long time, you should also know that I am doing a good job, right? This was the first time since he came to Daodao continent that he felt a sense of powerlessness, as if there was a golden mountain in front of him, but he had no money to buy the key. Speaking of which, Gongsun Xiao Xiao looks quite cute, with a pink face, making him a cute little loli. Xiao Xian originally thought that even if the system was really a turtle shell, it would still have some reaction. Grandmas. At this time, the system's voice rang, with such a relationship, you will naturally feel close to Gongsun Xiao Xiao, but, this is also a good thing. Good thing. System prompts, host, don't be so short-sighted. Speaking of which. Hearing this, Xiao Xian felt helpless. But now, Xiao Xian lowered his head and looked at Gongsun Xiao Xiao, and felt a vague sense of closeness between them. It seems like this is asking me to use a special trick. But Xiao Xian understood that this guy was an out-and-out stone-swallowing gold beast. Sure enough, after he said this almost rogue words, the system hesitated.